Sawadee Krap and welcome to the Funkit Pod and the Academic Corner, the part of the Funkit Pod where I talk about all things academics, what's happening in my academic life, sharing some experiences in the hopes of maybe helping / inspiring / getting some feedback from you, like what's happening with you, because quite frankly, very often I think academics or being an academic is like very isolated. And you're like in your own little bubble there and you think like, oh my God, I'm the only one suffering. Oh my God, So maybe this helps us to share a few experiences. It would be cool. Maybe we can even, do some podcasts together, share some ideas and so on. So I have three things that I would just want to talk about today. One thing is pretty crazy, pretty sad. So I do a guest lecture for like a European university here in Thailand. And so they have a campus here, and the students usually they come from all across the world, but usually like international students that come here for a semester, and they're very small classes, usually, or smallish classes, like around 20 students, and then they usually travel together. Like they don't have class on Friday, for example, so then they go to an island for the weekend or whatnot. And same thing they did now this past weekend, and it's the full moon party here, very famous in Thailand, in Koh Phangan. And I think they went early, and apparently I think one student had an accident. I think a motorcycle, not sure, an accident, and ended up being in a coma, which is really tough. And as no like teacher / professor / whatever you want to call it, like you of course have some connection, not as close, but I mean I've seen them now only twice, but I mean, still you're like, hey, I kind of know you guys now, and what are you supposed to do then? Is the question, right? Of course, you can't help much, especially like here in Thailand. You have to let the university handle everything and the insurances and stuff, because they speak the language and whatnot. But you're like, man, like tough. And I don't want to make it about the academics, the teachers, and so on. Obviously, it's way worse for the person involved and that happened to. But it's just, you just wonder, like, all of a sudden you're like very powerless. You're like, damn, I can't do anything to help. Like, insane. I struggle a little bit with that, to be honest. Not being able to do anything. Like, and life just has to go on, basically, right? So it's like, wow. Like, how do you handle such things when you see like a student is suffering, had an accident, whatever? Like, can you be like, that's not my job to worry about that, I can't do anything, or what do you do? Like, let me know. I would be really really thankful for some feedback there. So that would be interesting. Okay, but now let's move on to the academic part, like researching and so on. So in order to achieve our KPIs, you have to do research, and I like doing research. So don't get me wrong, I like doing research. That's part of being academic. So I like doing research. I hate writing journal papers because, let's be honest, 80% of the peer review you're getting is just BS. Let's be honest, right? It's people who have no clue about what you're actually researching on. For some reason, they're in like a peer review committee or whatever. Committee. Very often it's a comedy, and they're just reviewing and giving you feedback just because that's their job right now. And like you feel like you're only saying this because you have to say something. You cannot say it's good. You have to say something. That's why it's so annoying. I hate it, and it's not worth the emotional damage that it does. The emotional damage it does, because no one's reading journal papers. So I've been lucky enough to have been able to publish in magazines that I think, like online magazines that I think more people read than any journal ever, probably. But my faculty is still like, yeah, but the KPI is journals, so now I have to write a journal paper again. And I'm very excited to write something that no one's ever gonna read. It's fantastic. That's exactly that's the part of academics I hate. Like, why can't my KPI be something to, like, if I write a magazine article in a magazine that's read by an audience that I know matters, why isn't that worth something? why is only like an article in a journal worth something for evaluation and KPI and budget and whatever? It's really, really, really annoying. But okay, I'm going to write another article for a journal. Hey, you see my enthusiasm. I hate it. Because it's just you put so much effort into it and then no one's going to read it. It's just frustrating. I always tell my students, like, hey, if you create content and you spend so much time on creating that content, why don't you also spend the time on getting the content to the people? So figure out, like, find your target audiences and how to get it to them and so on, and how you interact with them, how you message them. And in a journal, it's just like put in a journal, publish in a journal, then it's like you lock a door so that no one can see it. It's like, oh, it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating. Okay, enough ranting about journals. The cool thing this week in academics was I had like a follow-up, a catch-up session. They call it a retreat with the ITS community, the Innovative Teaching Scholars program that I've been part of for the past 2 years, which I'm very thankful for, which is run by Stanford University's D School, the Hasso-Plattner Institute for Design, I believe is the actual name. Just really cool. So it connects professors from Thailand with like the Stanford, the D School, and then the D School professors, they're sharing their ideas on like how to engage and how to disrupt education a little bit, and we just forming ideas together, which is really nice. And so we had a workshop on Saturday, which was pretty cool, just to see that you're not alone. Like, I always think like I'm the only one trying to disrupt education, changing the way I'm teaching, changing classrooms and so on, like activities, teaching, lecture structure and so on. But then if you meet like-minded people, it's kind of motivating. So it's really cool. So props to ITS, to Stanford, the D School, everybody involved. It's really cool. I feel more motivated now again after I talked to a few like-minded, different, very, very different people, yet kind of like-minded in regards to we have to change something, which is cool. Lots of different ideas that I don't always necessarily like agree with in terms of like, yeah, I want to do the same thing, but like seeing that people want to change things and then just taking parts from everyone, like, yeah, okay, cool, maybe not, but I see what you're doing. It's pretty inspiring. So I'm all motivated again. So sometimes it's just nice to have those sessions just to light that fire again, right? I think. And yeah, I'm gonna share a few things then as we move forward here. Also, like my experiment setups, because we have to call it like experiments that you do in your classroom to see does it working? Does it work? Does it not? The one thing I'm doing right now in class, just to share a little bit, is, so I mentioned it in one of the sessions before, I chose a more of a design thinking approach for class now, meaning so I put some of my lecture content that I think, okay, they still need to see parts of the lecture online, but it's like only in like 20-minute video like pieces, like bites, like big bites, okay, 20 minutes, but yeah, so it's usually 12 to 20 minutes actually, if I think about it. So it's 12 to 20 minutes, one video. And then I put this up, like, hey, that's the basics for the next class, so you should watch this. And then in the class, you do it like applied. So I have an active learning classroom now that I booked for the semester. I have this active learning classroom that I booked for the semester. And so there's like, you can like move the chairs around. There are like the roles, the feet of roles, and there are like 5 or 6 whiteboards in there. So it's very much group activity. So every group gets a topic they could pick before. Like I vetted the topics, then they could pick a topic, like either create content for a client, for example, do some academic research on a certain topic, whatnot. So different topics related to the. There are different topics related to the subject, which is digital strategies in this case. This could be digital marketing, it could be digital transformation, whatever the students, in whichever direction students want to go down. And so then every week, I bring a new topic, introduce it via video in the beginning, so they have a week to watch the video. And when their class happens, we then work on their project and how to implement the topic of the lecture into their projects. And yeah, so classes here are 3 hours, which is insanely long. So then usually the first hour or so, we do a little bit of recapping. explain a little bit more, answer questions, and then we split into our groups and work on those things. Also, then, of course, there's student presentations, so I gave the students like the syllabus. I'm like, hey, whatever topic sounds interesting to you, you're going to present about that. And then they don't just present and stand in front of the class and like, hey, that's this topic. I have them also then hold workshops on that. So how do we use this topic that we present right now for the projects of every group? Increases a little bit of like the peer pressure, like, oh God, it's not just me presenting for the teacher, it's me presenting for my friends, and they have to use it for their project, so I really have to know what I'm talking about. Yeah, which is kind of nice, so I appreciate that. I'm going to bring a more detailed breakdown of this experiment maybe in the next episode already. Maybe I'll visualize it a little bit and add it to my Substack. So subscribe to the Substack, the FunkitPod Substack. I might just try to visualize it and publish it there. But yeah, so that's interesting. That's fun right now. Just adjusting like how to do like this design thinking approach a little bit more in class, have like more hands-on things to do there. I'm still also working on getting some guest lectures involved. I had one already on parasocial relationships and virtual influencers. I'm going to have some more on data-driven marketing in this case, I think, and we're also working on an event, the Digital Strategies event of tomorrow, coming in November. So stay tuned for that. I will also explain like how this worked out, because students are supposed to set up the event. So also part of the active learning, of course. So I'll share how this goes. But that's it for this week right now. At least for today. Maybe I'll follow up with the setup of my experiment rather soon. If you have any questions, shout out. If you have anything to share, shout out. How are you changing your classes? How are you disrupting education? Let me know. I'm really curious to hear the input there. Shout out funkitpod@gmail.com or @funkitpod on social media. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to this thing. Rate it ideally so more people find it and we have a bigger community, which would be really cool. And until then, as always, stay safe, take care. Don't give too many Fs or too many As. We talk soon. Sawadee Krap.